Hi everyone, this is Sunette here in this Soul video, and today we have
Joe!
joining us with an interesting dimension that opened up in conversation that we had between the two of us and the recent videos on redefining and living the word fun. And in our conversation, Joe was sharing some interesting points that he'd faced in relation to the word fun, but also an interesting point that can be looked at in many different words that many of you may possibly or probably face in various ways. And this has got none other to do than with fear and anxiety. Fear, anxiety, and resistance in relation to the word fun. Now, I'm sure for many of us, as for me, in a moment as well, I was kind of taken aback. How can you have a fear or a resistance in relation to the word fun? But the question, within myself came up in a way of, obviously in my frame of reference, fun has been a process that I've walked, but for some, there could be an experience of fear and resistance, as with Joe. So, Joe, let's start off in asking a question.
Yes.
How did this fear or resistance in relation to the word fun start? Where did it come from?
Yeah, when I look at the word fun, it was definitely a process to get to a point of even being comfortable with using the word. And I trace this back to my childhood, where growing up, I was very much isolated by myself. I got very used to just entertaining myself, not interacting with other people or other kids. And what ended up happening was, as I grew older, that became more and more how I defined myself. I just wasn't that kind of kid. That's just not for me. And as I got older, I would have friends that would be like, "Hey, Joe, why don't you come out and join us for this? Why don't you come out and do that with us?" And I would just be like, "No, you guys go ahead. I'm good. That's not for me. If you guys want to have fun, cool. I'm not gonna." And it's really weird to think about it, but a deeper level to that I only saw after I began, really investigating who I am when it comes to this point of fun, was the fear of social anxiety.
Okay. All right, sorry to interrupt for a moment. So what is interesting here and what I'm seeing is, okay, it was about the word fun, that you've developed a fear or resistance, but actually what is and was behind it was the whole social context.
Yes.
The actual social relationships and the environment and the people and everything that is involved with being social, which is interacting, communicating, and things like that. So an interesting design here within yourself, in a way, is, as I'm seeing it, is like you're standing here and you've got the word fun in front of you, and behind that, you just see all the social fears.
Yes.
So rather developing a fear and resistance toward the word fun, and in a way suppressing and hiding and limiting yourself from, approaching or transcending that fear, which is actually the social context, social environment, communications, interactions, things like that.
Yes.
Now, within this, another interesting point that you mentioned as well when we were talking was with regards to the concept of, another way that you looked at the word fun was, that's for other people.
Yeah.
That's for people who's got time, who doesn't work. What is interesting, Joe, as you mentioned there as well, was the fact that, the whole polarity, if you will. I don't know if you've also noticed it, where it's like I'm a loner, an outsider, ostracizing myself from anything social, and therefore, in that self-definition, I can't have fun. How do you have fun alone with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fun is supposed to, only be when you're very social, you're going out, you've got lots of friends, you're laughing, you're partying, or you're having fun and things like that. But, within that polarity inside yourself, did it ever come up within you to maybe look at, okay, yes, this is my self-definition at the moment. Maybe I can redefine fun for myself, or did that not even enter?
No, not directly, and not directly because what ended up happening for me was I started to realize that I was very much withheld, and as much as I would resist going out and being with other people and kind of justify it by saying, "Oh, that's just them having fun. People who have fun aren't serious." I had to really get deep with myself and realize, there's a whole other layer here of me fearing being with other people, me fearing going out. So I began with pushing myself to do just that, just push myself, put myself into positions where I would have to be around people. And the more I do that, the more I found that I started to get my groove with it. I started to know where I'm comfortable and where I'm not. And that wasn't a bad thing because I was starting to define myself and mold myself.
Yes. So, as you said, defining yourself, which is also more actually a redefining.
Yes.
Because, I mean, this is also something that so many of us struggle with. And there's also at the heart of soul, which is redefining and living words, redefining and living ourselves.
Yes.
Where you had to redefine and live the word being social, communicating, interacting with many people or a group of people. And within that process, interestingly enough, which we'll get to in a moment, that Joel share, is he discovered fun, within himself, but not only in social context, in many, different contexts as well, which, where you essentially were alone with yourself.
Yes.
So, everything's kind of in reverse. You had fun, and then the social experiences behind that, but fear and resistance, stopping it all. And then to redefine it all, you went to the social context, and through the social context into the fun, and then back to yourself.
Right, through like a back door, coming back to myself. Yeah.
But what I'm really also would like to point out for everyone is how for Joe, he grew up as, a child, being a loner, an outsider, kind of being socially ostracized, if you will. And so many of us think that, because we've been like that for so many years or most of our life, this is who I am, this is how it will be and shall be forever. We very seldom really think or consider, about the possibility or the potential of change. And, how many years did it essentially take you to, from that being a loner, was there a significant event or experience or process that happened that finally motivated you, in a way of, this is enough. I don't want to live this self-definition anymore. I want to change.
Yeah, well, with me, it was many, many years. Throughout the majority of my childhood into I would say when I was about 11 to 12, my experience had been just being on my own, oftentimes just spend the whole day in my own room with barely even talking to adults, so very, very ingrained within me to be like a loner, but I didn't even judge that. It was just who I was. So as I got into high school, now puberty adds a whole other layer to it, right? So I was in high school and I'm seeing all these other kids that seem to just be comfortable with each other in these groups, and you have your cliques, the cool kids and the band people, the sports people, and then you have these people along the walls, and those were my people, right? The outsiders. And I was okay with it in high school because I was dealing with puberty and all of that. So, but by the time I got into college, I realized that I'm not getting any younger. Okay. And I haven't changed myself, and no one's going to change me, and I'm the only one that's going to be able to walk through this. So I took a beginner's acting class.
Now that's really placing yourself in the fear.
Yes.
Facing those fears, resistances.
Yes.
Fear. I would never have imagined.
Absolutely. I took a beginner's acting class.
Nice.
And I think it was the first or second session of the class, the teacher says, okay, who here has stage fright? And, like the naive fool I was, my hand shoots straight up, and I look around, and I'm the only one with the hand up. And, I can't take my hand down. So at this point, the teacher says, okay, you come up. you are going to sing the national anthem as loud as you can. And mind you, this is years of me being awkward and my voice would quiver and my hands would shake around people. That's the guy that's walking now in front of the class to sing our national anthem.
Wow.
And my physical body was just like a wreck. Like, what's going on? What are you doing, Joe? This is not right. Sit down. Cancel the class. And I'm out there, my knees buckling, my voice horrible. I sing what I remember of our national anthem. And at the end, I get the little, the sympathy clap from the whole class. But as nerve-wracking and as horrible as that was, I survived it. Mm. And after that, I realized that, oh my God, this thing that I've been fearing to do, just go out there and make a fool of myself. What's the worst that can happen? You get a sympathy clap. And after that, my approach began to really change. I started to more and more find opportunities to do more acting, to tell jokes, to express myself more. And, I developed a new circle of friends who didn't know me as my shy self. So I really did a whole rebranding of myself. And since then, it's been a process of just continuing that.
Well, it's been extraordinary, I must say. Even with having met Joe, it's, and look at where you are now, joining us here, the video, sharing your process with so many people, being, I'm sure, an inspiration for so many of you. Because, with me, I had a similar experience when I was younger as well. Also shy, introverted, more in the dimension of, though, being afraid of others' judgments. And I went into the opposite direction of allowing that fear to stop me from doing something that I actually did enjoy and did love, meaning this was a ballet class, and we had moved and I had to start over in a new class with new girls. But, in their process and relationship with me, they were literally explicitly judgmental, creating their little groups and gossiping and laughing and bullying and calling me names and things like that. So, there it is a bit more trying and challenging. But I'm sure, even though you may have found that moment of where you could stand through it and transcend it, there must have been also moments in your life where you did get the explicit, criticism or judgments or things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But here comes this point, being obviously I've learned this as well now throughout my life since I've been a teenager. But what would you say is that one point that makes that difference of doing what you enjoy and what you love despite, yes, making mistakes, getting criticism or judgment from others and things like that? What got you through those moments?
Well, for me, it came to a point of, do I want to continue being afraid of living my life? Do I want to continue watching other people do something and just yearn for it when, I'm right here? And I get to decide how I want to live in relation to that experience. But I have to be the one also to take responsibility for it and, walk through it. So for me, it was like a point of, I've got nothing to lose. I'm socially awkward. I shake. I've got these weird tremors and I can't make friends. And what have I got to lose? And I took that point within me and just went up there and just did it. Because at the end of it all, even if I lost everything, I at least did something.
Yes.
And moved myself despite the fears.
Yes, and within that, you actually gain something within yourself that, no one else can take away from you.
Yeah.
You can say for yourself within that moment and that experience that, yes, despite what the fear and resistance and anxiety and how it came up in me and manifests in me, I had that will and that motivation and passion to stand up for myself within all of that. And so is that where your journey began?
That's where the journey began, and it hasn't ended and will never end, and it's incredible.
But Joe in himself, fascinatingly enough, if you get to know him, he is, in himself very fun in how he expresses and communicates. I'm sure all of you as well who's been listening to this video has had your moments of laughs and enjoyment and fun. So Joe, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
But what is important as well to take with you is, you know, the difference between our two stories as well. You know, look at the consequence that I create for myself because of accepting and allowing the fear, you know, of others in some way or another to stop me from enjoying myself, expressing myself through dancing. Whereas for Joe, for example, with him standing there and walking through the fear, resistance, and anxiety and developing himself into, you know, expressions and ways you know, just neuro communication, interaction, I'm sure also for you it must have been quite a surprise, you know, seeing all these parts of you coming through that you never thought would have been possible.
Yeah, I went through a phase of trying on all kinds of expressions and characters and personalities, you know, after so many years of suppression. So that was my little just go crazy phase. But after that, it just got more and more comfortable, and I realized all the fears I had about social anxiety, they're still here. You know, they don't just disappear. It's just the difference now is I know what tools to use, and I know where I'm comfortable and how to leverage that and face it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's important. All right, everyone. So, Joe, any other last words?
No, this was fun.
Definitely. Thank you very much for joining, Joe, and thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And some interesting points and dimensions in relation to redefining and living words as well as yourself. And even for those who can relate to fearing or resisting the word fun and how to assist and support yourself through it, what to do and what not to do. All right, everyone. Thank you very much.